All right. Aloha, everybody. Talking Ghosts is tonight a talk in the dark. And tonight we will be talking about something that I have had experiences with myself personally over a period of time, and also is very well known here in Hawaii and also other parts of the world. And before going any further tonight, sorry about that. Running a little bit more late than usual, so much so that to the point I'll probably have to be changing the time from my shows. So be expecting them to be changed to about 8:30 or 9 o'clock Hawaii time. Yeah. But anyway, folks, thank you very much for being here. Tonight is just me and you, a talk in the dark. And one of the reasons why I'm making this show this evening, and of course, I will be taking your questions as well. Hey, Smarty Pants, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll be taking your questions as well. Lena, it's good to see you towards the end of the program. Is that a few nights ago, my roommate, while she was sleeping, was attacked by a spirit. That's exactly when she described it to me, exactly what happened. That's is all the classic signs of a choking ghost. They're also called hagging, and other in Hawaii they're called choke neck. But the generalized term between that and other things that they call them is choking ghosts. So tonight we'll be talking about that. Tessie, good to see you. Nice to have you here tonight. So yeah, again, talk in the dark. You know, when I do these talks in the dark, I guess in the old days it wasn't so bad, but thinking about the fact that my roommate got attacked by one of these spirits a few nights ago, it just really, I don't know. I'm sitting here in the dark going, oh my God. And you know, well, you don't know this, but my roommate's bedroom is right next to mine. And this place does have weird things that happen. And one of the weirdest things that happened to me so far in here is that, well, there's a saying that you're not supposed to face your feet towards the door, or you know, your head is supposed to be aligned a certain way as well, with windows and such. Well, what I did was, Ray Gunn, hello from Chinatown. Good to see you this evening. But what I did was a couple of times, because I have a hard time sleeping. I'm one of those people that toss and turn when I lay down. I don't exactly fall asleep unless I'm really exhausted. Then yeah, I just fall asleep, no problem. But if it's just one of those nights, I'm usually a night owl anyway because I work in the paranormal, and I'm usually out in the field or have been in the past at haunted locations till like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I toss and turn. So sometimes I end up facing my head towards the window. And I tell you, and I should also take note of this for another show. It's like I'm in the state between sleeping and awake. Oh, good, Alan. If you want to share some of that, please do. But yeah, I'll be taking your questions in a while. But thank you, Alan, for sharing that, because that's the thing too. I think a lot of people have these experiences but don't always talk about it, or they haven't, well, you know, talked about it on this program at all. Well, considering the theme, that would be a good time to talk. So when I lay down with my head towards the window, I always get these dreams of being choked and attacked, and it never ever happens. It might be Smarty Pants, but I think there's something more to it. And it never ever ever happens when I'm not laying towards the window. It only happens when I lay down with my head towards the window. That's the only time this type of stuff happens. You know, considering in the past, you know, you hear classic stories, right, at haunted houses. What do you hear with some of these stories, or the photographs? Someone looking through the window from the outside. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. There's a lot of photographs like that. You can type that into Google if you want. Go ahead and type that in, and don't mind my cat. He's still being Frank Sinatra or Elvis Presley or whatever and doing his thing out there. But think about that. I mean, I've seen photographs like this. So I'm laying down with my head towards the window, and then bam, I mean, and it's an attack. It's not just dreaming. It's an all out attack. You can feel the physical sensation going on. You can feel the struggle, and it's a horrifying thing. And I guess I've done it more than once because sometimes I wake up and I'm really, really in that, between again being awake and kind of asleep. And so I end up unfortunately putting my head back towards the window. Bam! I get attacked again. Another thing to take note of, Trek Lady. I haven't seen you in a long time. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. People, go check out Trek Lady, yeah, and her YouTube channel. And everyone else, support each other, please. So bam, these things happen. But that's the thing about the paranormal too. It's not like each and every time I lay down this way while facing the window that'll happen. But it does. It does happen. And you can feel that. And for me, this is not the first time that this has ever happened. This is like maybe the eighth time. I think is about the eighth time when I got attacked this way. So I'm going to be sharing with you tonight some of these experiences that I had. And by the way, before going any further, if you would like to go to my Ghosts of Hawaii community page, I want you to take a look at two photographs that I put up there. I'm going to be talking about the story behind those photographs. Okay, so you can go ahead and take a look at that if you want. And I will begin to share with you my own experiences with choking ghosts. Yeah, that's a very feng shui thing. You can look that up online. There's a whole explanation behind the way your body is supposed to be positioned based upon that. So, yeah, there's different reasons for this, folks. That's right, kimchi. That's exactly right. And it does interfere also with how your energy is placed living in this world. And so we will talk about things that are beyond this world right now. So before starting with my particular story, there seems to be a connection. Thank you, Nightwalker. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here as well. It seems to be maybe a family thing. That there is a family thing going on with my experiences with what we call it choke neck ghosts. And I think that is a bit too scary for me because I've experienced these attacks. So let's start talking about it. Let's start talking about it right now. So a long time ago, in this place that I lived in that was extremely haunted, and I thought I was the only one that was being targeted by the spirits that were there. They seemed to be spirits from a place a long time ago where they may have experienced torture or something along those lines. And so, but I found out later that my father had an experience while living in this house. And by the time I'm done telling you about this experience, you'll probably type on the screen what it is. So he went to bed one night and probably was very, very late because this is when most of the things would happen. Yeah, they can't hurt you. My dad was asleep. It was late at night. And all of a sudden he felt like something get on top of him. And it started to, at first, press down on his body and he couldn't move. After a few moments, fighting this effect that was happening to him, this threat that came out of the darkness, that's what I call it because I've been through it myself. All of a sudden, he opens his eyes because I guess he's allowed to open his eyes. So his eyes open up, and what he sees on top of him is an old woman with very long hair. And she's looking down at him, laughing. And I'm not my father, but I'll tell you what, I've had my experiences with these types of entities. That would terrify me, absolutely terrify me. And it went on for a period of time before suddenly, for no apparent reason, because we don't understand everything when it comes to the world of spirits, the entity vanished and my father was able to move again. In other parts of the world, this is called hagging. And it's a common occurrence when people wake up in the middle of the night and they find themselves struggling with a spirit or ghost that looks like an old woman holding them down. And at the same time, while they're being held down, they're being harassed and choked. These kind of shows, especially when they hit so close to home, they're not exactly easy to do, just to let you know. So, years later, I got involved with the paranormal. And so I was asked one year to come down to a place on the island of Oahu in Aiea. At first, I had heard about the activity going on there, so I had communicated with them about the activity that was going on. And, there was an invitation made after we talked to come down to this place. Apparently, there were people there that had a late shift, let's just put it this way, at this location. Some of them ended up falling asleep. And in the process of falling asleep, something would come into the room where they were at, push them down with a tremendous force, and choke them. So, I was thinking about doing a Halloween presentation for them. And I went down to talk to them about doing one. In a way, maybe this would be good for them to just say, well, this is real. And it was going to be a private showing. It wasn't going to be for the public. So I showed up for the meeting and I sat down and we had a conversation about these experiences in this building. And at first, everything was fine. There was no problem with the conversation. And at one point, something came into the room. Now, again, I've said this a few times on my program. When a spirit or a ghost or even more than one shows up, you will, without question of a doubt, you will experience them. You will feel them. They will be around you. And if you're not careful, they'll either really affect you and try to take control of you, or maybe with some of the people around you. And in this case, that is exactly what happened. This presence came into the room while we were having the meeting. And as I looked in surprise around me, everyone that was having a conversation with me, their expression started to change on their face. We were having a normal conversation, or as normal as you can be, talking about such a scary situation occurring in their building. And then they all looked like they weren't themselves. One guy looked the exact opposite, who was calm and collective. And then this expression comes over his face. His brow and his eyes and everything start to transform and change right in front of my eyes. And with that change of expression came a change in the tone of the conversation. All of a sudden, nobody wanted to get on board with what we were talking about. All of a sudden, everyone that was in this meeting started to downplay everything. It's like, why was I even there? Why did I show up and come to this place? It's like whoever was taking over these people wanted to keep everything the way it was. Didn't want any interference with what was going on at all. This is one of the reasons why, when I do this type of work, and now I'm doing a show here on YouTube, I keep telling people have at times downplayed all of this stuff, really downplayed it and said, hey, you know what, we can get a handle on it. I beg to differ, because not always that will be the case. They're on the other side. First and foremost, they get first strike at us. And that's exactly what happened. I stayed there for as long as I could. Besides the fact that all of them started changing in their tone and their personality and whatever else you want to call it, I couldn't handle myself that kind of change in the environment. I couldn't handle that I'm sitting in a well-lit room and I'm feeling them around me. And then you see that cause and effect. And none of those people I could get. Only one person. There was only one person when I cut the interview short. It was getting to the point where they really wanted to just get really into it and dig in and attack me verbally. One person, when I got up to leave, that told me that, hey, you know what? I understand what you're talking about. Unfortunately, we can't really do nothing about it. So, one guy was not affected, I guess, in a room full of other people. Again, when we talk about the paranormal, when we talk about spirits and ghosts, and people even say, oh, this is all sleep paralysis. This is something that happens within the physical awake state and the REM state. And something in between that happens. And you can read a whole bunch of stuff on that. Trust me, the material is out there. If you want to go ahead and look up sleep paralysis, by all means, feel free to go ahead and look that up. But I can tell you right now, when that happened, that was a sign of intelligence. And I never want to experience that again. Never, ever want to experience that type of spiritual manifestation, and aggressive too, on top of that. Think about the fact that these spirits are considered to be aggressive. A lot of them are said to be wandering souls that travel from place to place. A lot of these stories have to even do with specific type of locations like fire stations here in Hawaii. Yeah, and that's also very well known with the choking ghosts. It's very well known that those type of things do happen. That's not always the case, though. As far as, again, please save your questions until a little bit later on. But as far as how a person gets affected, this is all, everything that we talk about with spirits is speculation. Until we actually have our own experiences, then we can only share it from that vantage point. Nightwalker is saying paranormal all the way more different than sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis and real life paranormal are different stories, because I've been there. I'm actually a paranormal catchers. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. And thank you for sharing that, Nightwalker. I appreciate that. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to share with you folks is that for some reason, and luckily it wasn't all the time, that for some reason we would end up living in a house that was haunted by ghosts. And so we did move into this old house. It was built in the 1920s. And at first, nothing happened. It was a really nice house. I mean, we threw some great parties over there. We threw some fantastic Halloween parties. It had the ambiance and everything. It had one of the things that I didn't even really know about to a few years later when I started going into the paranormal, and that is that mango trees are a magnet to spirits. So are banyan trees as well, as a matter of fact. But it had all the ambiance, a big old spooky tree out in the yard, old house, great Halloween parties. But what made it even more interesting was the fact that the house was haunted. And when I say haunted, it's not like your typical, well, I hear something late at night making noise, or something goes flying off the shelf. No, this particular spirit, this gentleman, I should say, was seen quite often. And I mean, he was seen so much in our home that my family gave him a name. They called him Henry. Henry was the name of this particular spirit. And Henry, you could be sitting in the living room, and if you're sitting on the left side of the living room and you look towards the right, there's a doorway to the hallway, and people would see Henry walking through the hallway. He would be wearing like a white shirt, and you can only see him from from behind, walking through the hallway. I've had people come over to our home, and we told them about Henry. And like I said, we used to have little get-togethers, and once in a while, a friend of mine that would be there would be getting late, and we invited that person to stay at the house. No need to go home. It's too late to do that. And so one night, one of my friends was actually sleeping in one of the bedrooms that when Henry would cross the hallway, he would usually cross from from one side to the other. And when he would go from left to right, when you would see him, that's the most you would see him going from left to right in the hallway. He would be going into, that would lead to one of the bedrooms. And my friend one night, we asked him to spend the night, invited him to sleep in that room. It must have been like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when he felt like there was somebody in the room with him. And he opened his eyes and he saw this tall white apparition standing in the room looking at him. That's Henry. That's definitely Henry. Now, for me, the weird thing also was the fact that I have never, ever seen Henry. Not once. I mean, I lived in that house the entire time, along with members of my family. Nobody saw Henry at all. I mean, they would see Henry. I wouldn't see Henry at all. So the thing is, I had one experience though. One experience that I can share with you about living in that house. And it happened to me twice. So my sister moved out from the house and her room was available. And I said, I said, can I take the room? They said, yeah, go ahead, go for it. Again, this is a nice old house. The room is really big. It's really comfortable. I move in right away. I settle down. Everything's fine. Except for 2 different occasions when I felt like someone was trying to nudge me awake. And I open my eyes and I'm laying on my side and in the dark. And that's the spooky thing about it is it's dark. And yet I see a shadow, a fuzzy shadow. And as I see the shadow, it's pressing. I feel this sensation of somebody pressing down on me and starting to choke me. And it's not kind of like, well, I can kind of feel that. It's like whatever is happening to me, it is done with great intention. It's doing it because it wants to do that to you. And I'm laying there, I'm pinned down like an insect. And I'm looking to the side of me when I'm laying down to my left, and there's this big fuzzy black shadow. And both times when that happened, because it happened twice the same way, I did call out to God. Not no joke. I mean, I think, and honestly, in our day-to-day lives, we should be very aware of a higher power. Personally, I pray all the time. But yeah, I did cry out, and I was very frightened by that. Very, very frightened. It scared me. And when I did it both times, it did let go. Thankfully, it let go. That's the only experiences I had in that house. Do I think it was Henry? I'm not sure. Maybe it was. But then again, remember that when we talk about choking ghosts, for the most part, they're considered to be wandering spirits. They go from place to place. And for whatever reason they have, will come to you in the middle of the night and try to choke you. It's exactly what it is. It is not a misconception of, oh, just pressure on you. I know it happened to my mom when we were living in Eva Beach, at this old ranch that was there. I was talking about that the last time we had a show. And my mom was laying in bed, and she had the experience of something coming to her out of nowhere and then starting to like press its weight down on her body. Again, not being able to move. In all these circumstances, you're not moving. And that's why I think they call it sleep paralysis. But she went through it as well. So I'm not sure if it's a family thing or just wrong place, wrong time. I'm not sure about that. The most scariest thing that happened, though, and if you like, go to my Ghosts of Hawaii community page right now and go look at those two photographs. Two of the most scary encounters I ever had to do with an investigation that I did. That had to do with a very personal connection with a friend of mine whose friend, her own friend, was murdered. She died horribly. Horribly. She was she was she was in high school when she was murdered. And there's a lot of detail involved with that story. But long story short, I was asked to see if my roommate, who is a psychic, would do a spirit crossing because she was haunting this place for years. She was terrifying people at this location. Really, really terrifying people because she died such a horrible way. The thing that I understand about spirits when they die, especially when they're murdered, and my roommate has explained this to me before, they can go into this state of almost like a spiritual loop. Like how you can make a recording and you can just loop it over and over and over again. You can play a song constantly over and over and over and over again. They can go into that state from the point where they were killed and stay that way. I remember one particular instance. It was the middle of the day, and me and my roommate were sitting down. All of a sudden, she gets aggravated. I go, "What's wrong?" She goes, "This guy is bothering me." I'm like, this woman is bothering me. What woman is bothering you? This woman right over here. What? And I look, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, you can't see her." It was a woman that had died suddenly and was walking around in the middle of the daytime trying to, and from what I understand, this is what was told to me. She was walking into people's homes, walking into their homes in the middle of the day, trying to find her family. So what happened was my roommate summoned another, well, called another spirit that she knew to guide her to the right house, but she was bugging my friend because she could see this spirit. So I was I was asked if I could bring her into this situation. And we did do a spirit crossing. I mean, I'm not going to be talking about the spirit crossing tonight with you folks. And as far as I'm able to tell, we were able to help her, or she was able to help her, because she was in that spiritual loop. She didn't even know she was dead. She was just there for like, okay, this happened in, okay. Well, she was there for a long, long time. Let me tell you, she was there for years and years and years, and she didn't know that she was murdered. It's a long story, like I said. But at one point in this investigation, we were told about the building itself and that there were these other spirits. Looking back here. Okay, anyway, there were other spirits there as well, besides the ghost of the girl that was murdered. And that these spirits were like in charge of the place, and they were actually earthbound and very negative, and they were inflicting additional damage to the one that was murdered, keeping her there in that one spot at the top of this stairwell. So one night I took my camera and I went over to the location and I started to take some photographs. At first, when I came there, I did the usual thing. I said, hey, I don't want to get anyone mad that's here. And as a matter of fact, the closer and closer I got to the location, you could feel like her presence there. You could feel like that sorrow, that confusion. So, at first I'm speaking out to her. Then I remember that there's these other spirits that are wandering around, and they're earthbound and they're negative, and they're inflicting misery on her as well, or maybe feeding off of her energy as well. So as I'm talking, at first I feel this sad energy from that one spirit that was murdered, and then all of a sudden I could feel like this aggressiveness come into the picture. It kind of felt like if you were walking around in the dark somewhere and how you feel like someone's going to try and rob you or hurt you. It was like that, but it was way, way over amplified. It actually startled me. So I picked up my camera and I started to take pictures. And as I took these photographs, you can go ahead and take a look at the photos if you like right now or after this program. As I started to take these photos, I looked into my camera and the viewfinder, and there were these black, disfigured, spooky looking shadows. They weren't like, there were a few of them that went up against the wall, but some of them were just floating in the air. You could just see that they were like disfigured, and I've never seen shadows like this before. I've never seen anything that looks like this at all. And never, And but for me, I got kind of like drawn in a bit, because you're there and you're getting evidence of one photo after another, after another, after another. And then finally I couldn't take it no more. I went home that night and my roommate saw me. And the first thing she tells me is, where were you and what were you doing? I mean, literally getting scolded the moment I walked through the door. And so I told her about it. And she said, you shouldn't have gone there. You should not have gone there at all. And she explained to me why, because those spirits are very aggressive. And so, I do, in case you're wondering what you should do, if you feel like you've been threatened by a ghost, whether at work or if you get a little bit too curious and you go to a haunted place and you feel like there's something around you, do that old Hawaiian thing. Go jump in the ocean and wash it off of you. all that negative energy. But because I wasn't near the ocean, what I do when these type of things happen is I go and take a shower. And as I take a shower, I meditate and I pray and I ask it to be removed. Actually, I tell it to leave. I wash the energy off of me, which is what I did. Went back into my room, and this is what happened. And it's not easy to tell at all. I lay in bed. I thought everything was okay. I did what I was supposed to do. A few hours into me sleeping, I get this very weird dream. And in this dream, it feels like I'm in one of these old rooms where this building is, where the murder took place. And you can see all these things from like years ago, antique things, things from another era. And then from out of the shadows comes forth this young child with blonde hair, dressed in a black, old-fashioned black dress coat with a white shirt and a black tie, black shorts and shoes. And he looks at me and he's having a conversation with me. And at one point, he points to one of these really old-fashioned phones, not even a rotary phone, just a really old phone. And he says, that's where they come from. That's where all of these ghosts come from. They come out of that phone. And just when he says that, for some reason in the dream, you could see the receiver of the phone, and something, if you look into it, it looks like a tunnel, and something is rushing through that tunnel, trying to come out of that phone and go straight at you. And all of a sudden I wake up and there's this heavy feeling on top of me, and there's these pair of hands that are around my neck. And unlike anything in the past, these spirits were there to end me. They were there to make sure I don't live to see the next day. That's how bad it was. And I had to fight. I had to fight that situation off of me. And then finally, I just said it, I gathered as much energy as I could. And I said, in the name of Jesus, you will not do this to me. And then all of a sudden, the sensation was so strong that when it let me go, I actually moved in the bed. It wasn't like before, like, oh, something like go. It's like someone holding you and they're grabbing you and they're lifting you up. And it's like, okay, then. And they just let go and they push you back down. That kind of feeling. And for some reason, I automatically knew that this was from that place, from that murder site, because there were two of them. And in my photos, there's two shadows that were showing up. And in case you folks are still asking, go to my Ghosts of Hawaii community page and you'll see the pictures of the shadows that I'm talking about. I actually have one that I didn't post where if you look, because they showed up in very weird patterns. There's like a face inside of one of them of an angry man or something, a bald angry man. I have to enhance the photo to see if I can pop out the image more. Second time this happened. And again, I was at the school, and it was a school. So there you go. It's a school. So anyway, I was there and I was taking photos. And again, I got a few weird photos, but not as much as the first time. And when I went back home, same thing, took a shower. It's on my community page, Billy King. You have to go over there and look at it for Ghosts of Hawaii. So anyway, not like the last time, I didn't get scolded or anything. I went back to bed. And as I was laying in bed and I fell asleep, I had another dream, very similar, in an old building, in an old room. And all of a sudden, these two entities show up, and they're threatening me and they're harassing me over what I did. And I'm like telling them to leave me alone. It's just total like threatening me while this is going on. And then they grab me and they start trying to choke me in the dream. And they're pressing me up against the wall. One is holding me down, like, one is pinning me against the wall, and the other one is trying to choke me. And it was so strong. It was even stronger than being awake and beyond lucid. This is just purely a threat, a spiritual threat to you as a person. And at one point, I just screamed because it was just sheer terror. I was overwhelmed by these two entities, and I called out to God. And right when I did that, I saw the most strange thing. If you ever seen the movie The Matrix, when you see those machines that look like they're squids or octopuses, and they're like moving through the air or whatever, and it kind of looked like they kind of look like an octopus or squids. When I yelled out to God, they kind of like turned into that, and they shot away from me. But here's the weird part. Here's the weird part. So I wake up and I can feel them try to attack me one more time. They try to attack me one last time to attack me. And I started to get up out of bed. And like from out of nowhere, I don't know where these arms came from, but these two arms or these two hands grabbed each of my arms, one on each side, invisible but vice-like grip, and tried to pull me back into the bed and tried to attack me again. And I said, nope, no. And I called out to God and I started to pray. And then all of a sudden, it let me go. Funny thing about this is, of course, this isn't even what I'm telling you folks about is in the middle of a story, not the end of the story. Matter of fact, the part where we did a spirit crossing, that isn't even the end of the story as well. This place that I'm telling you about, hopefully I'll be able to get a person that experienced more than I did, actually verified the little child. The little child that showed up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the premises of this place of murder, dressed exactly like in my dreams, and scaring someone to the point where they felt that they were going to have a nervous breakdown on Good Friday at 3 a.m. There's a whole thing about Lent and demonic spirits and entities as well. So like I said, this is only the middle of the story. Only the middle of the story about this place. But in the midst of it all, like they say, the devil is in the details. In the midst of it, where these choking goes. Are they what people say they are? Is it sleep paralysis? Are they wandering spirits that are angry and they cannot find rest? Or is there something else taking place with all of this? Because to tell you the truth, I cannot explain to you at all what happened with those people in that room. I can't explain how some unseen force came in there and told me to back off with what was going on. And now I will take some of your questions. I'll look back and see what people have been saying. In the future, folks, please, again, let's see if you have questions. If you do, again, save them to the end. Let's see if I have questions. If you were talking amongst yourselves, hopefully it was a good conversation. Dude, I might go to the cemetery at 3 a.m. right now. I want to catch some paranormal activity. Right now, like, please, someone out there, let me know if I should do it and post it in my YouTube channel. I don't think you should. One thing I've learned about this, it's okay to want to get evidence, Nightwalker. I understand that. It helps further whatever your endeavors are. I get it. I truly do get it. But remember what I said earlier, wrong time, wrong place. Think about wrong time. Think about wrong time. Don't go there at 3 a.m. Another thing that you should do is keep in mind or try to find out as much stories as you can about that place and what is haunting the area. And sometimes even when you collect all this information to help yourself in what you're going to do, it'll just backfire. Oh, thank you, Lena. Well, I mean, I did. I mean, it happened, and it's scared me, and it still scares me. You know, especially when I slept a couple times with my head facing the window, and I felt something attacking me. My roommate just got choked a couple of nights ago, so now every night before I go to bed, I have some holy water on me, and I know certain prayers to use to help to subdue the energy. Plus, I have haunted dolls here, so I guess you just can't win. And the reason why I tell you this, Nightwalker, is from experience. You know, I mean, people can have different type of experiences at different types of the day, like even with what Lewis is saying. But I tell you right now, you don't want to be zapped. You don't want to be possessed. You don't want to have anything attached to you. And you don't want them to make your life into a nightmare, because they can't do it. That's why I believe in the power of positivity. But that's when we pray and we, ask to be defended, it's God doing all the work and allowing it to happen. Oh, Corey, I'm sorry. I mean, but let me hear. I mean, let me see this. Yeah, I walked into a place. By the way, welcome, Corey, to the show. You know, walked into a place to go fishing right after my bartending shift. Got to the spot, started to set up my poles, but it got super cold. I believe you. Cash and Dog is saying, anyone know what happened at Mauna Loa High School? I heard from a teacher that someone slipped and died in the boys' locker room, and there's a ghost in the cafeteria. There's a couple of stories like that. A lot of shadows around, booked it out of there. I believe you, Corey. Trust me, especially with fishing. There's a lot of fishing stories and spirits haunting the area. Yeah, there's a few schools where there's stories of students dying in horrible ways, and as a result of that, they do return and come back, and are either not aware of what's going on, or looking for help, or angry for some reason. One of the scariest ones I went to. Excuse me as I drink some water here. My air con is off. My air conditioner. Anyway, there's a very famous. It's a very famous school. That is famous for its hauntings. I try not to mention these names because sometimes it like word gets out somehow. I mean nothing with the audience, but somehow it does get out, and then people tend to go to these places. But it was so haunted. It ended up. I know there was like suicide involved, but it was so haunted because there was another famous haunted location nearby, and so we were there, and I actually ended up getting a photo. I might put that up around Halloween, but it was taken with a pretty normal camera, not one of those specialized ones, but a normal camera, and in it you can see what looks like a demonic ghost. For real, like a demonic ghost, like a woman with long hair and the face of a skull, clear as day, watching us. Again, we just don't know. And when we do investigations, we're not constantly taking photographs. We're not constantly doing EVPs. We're not constantly doing spirit box. We're not constantly trying various methods to see if a spirit is there. And we can't. In other words, we can't monitor the situation completely all the time. That's why anytime we do this, it's high risk, extremely high risk. Oh, Nightwalker, ultimately, I can't tell you, what to do with that. Oh, yeah, Darth, you're right. Excuse me. I'm going back and looking at some of the things here. Yeah, Darth, you're absolutely right about that. Anyway, let me see again what you said. Is there baby spirits roaming around? If so, they don't go to heaven. The spirits, baby spirits, go to heaven? Yeah, they do. They do. Let's see. Let me see what else people are saying there. I don't think there's a lot of baby spirits that are lingering around. Roosevelt and Stevenson, definitely haunted. I know because my brother went to Roosevelt, and my partner that does paranormal activity with me, their son went to Stevenson, and I heard all kind of stories about that place. So that place is haunted as well. Nightwalker, I don't mind you being on my program, but you cannot say stuff like that. If you say it one more time, I will have to boot you off of this, okay? Do not say you wanted to kill yourself and I really don't care dying. That's your first and only warning. Okay, Nightwalker, I'm going to have to remove you. Sorry about that, people. I had to remove him. Didn't want to do that. Really didn't want to do that at all. And you know what? He probably will come back as a troll. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back as a troll and try to do things on this show. But yeah, you cannot have people. Yeah, prayers for him. He might have been trolling too. Yeah. But yeah, I can't let people come on this program and talk about dying or killing themselves or whatever the case may be. So again, my apologies for that. It's happened before in the past, thankfully not too much, but I know that certain channels, as they start to get more and more people, then you get these type of personalities, I should say, coming onto the chat room and saying things like that. So yeah, he had his warning and he's gone. But hey, this is what, yeah, I thank you, Guy. I know, yeah, it's true. Thank you, Allah. I really appreciate that. But yeah, it's just crazy stuff, and I always get these notifications that pop up like, hey, you just got a notice for you, a comment on one of your videos, and people just, it baffles me. Just a short little thing here. And I know Aloha knows this because I said it before. It just baffles me how people cannot be nice. How people all they can do is be assholes. Okay, I said it. Just assholes for whatever reason, whether their life is miserable or they just feel like someone else's life has to be miserable or they have to share in the misery or whatever the case may be. It's just a very disturbing thing to see happen right now. And we know we can look at 100 different ways to say that. Thank you, Smarty Pants. There's 100 different ways to say that, right? We can throw in politics and everything else. Yeah, I agree. Attention seeker. And I think that's what a lot of these people do. They're just desperate. They're just desperate for attention for one reason or another. And they have no respect. Yeah. I was kind of wondering, with the way it's kind of like a buildup, like, oh, really? Yada, yada, yada. And then the big surprise is, guess what? I'm a psychopath or whatever. And they're just trying to bring down everyone else's vibe. So sorry about that, folks. But yeah, just to give you a little, if you're asking questions still or you want to say a few more things, that's fine. I'll be here for a little bit talking with all of you. But just to let you know, it's kind of like a little bit of a break for me in some of this because I've been going nonstop with shows for how long now? A couple of months at least. And then adding in all the interviews and the stories that I share on here. But I guarantee you, oh boy, I might have Joe come on again next week. Well, the cat is doing better, yeah, but the kitty cat still wants to make little kitties, and cat is not allowed to do that. I got to get him fixed. I haven't done it yet, but that is coming up. But no, I mean, I got my other friend that's coming on the program. Why do I have all these interesting guests coming at me all at once? But I love it. I actually love it. But next Sunday, I have my friend Sereno coming on. And again, we're going to be talking about, uh, originally it was called Ghost Stories of Kauai, but I changed it to Scary Stories of Kauai. Yeah, trolls make the kitty upset. Smarty Pants, you know it. So that's going to, and you know, this guest that's coming on, my friend Sereno, it's going to get really crazy after that for a while because he has, well, he's been in some scary situations himself, and at times he did it. You know, he did it of his own free will, and there are times when things happen as a result of that, or something else occurred. Let me see what 13. By the way, 13 souls. Good to see you. Oh, Louis, you didn't get to see Pearl Harbor. I hope you come back and be able to see it. I really do. You work at Pearl Harbor? I'm sorry. Let me go back to what Cash and Dog said. I work Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor. Anyone know any ghost hunting on Pearl Harbor? Thanks. Well, you know, I did do one thing at Pearl Harbor. Someone had asked me to check out a place that was haunted there and to help assist in a blessing. So I know for a fact it is haunted. I always wanted to go to Pearl Harbor. I always wanted to see it and experience it for myself. I got rather close to it, and yeah, there's definitely residual and other things going on, spirit energy there. As far as what 13 Souls said, and yeah, it's good to have you here, 13 Souls. Hey, Abaki, did you seek advice after your choking experience, like a Bible reading or close friend? Well, you know, this was like the year after when I got attacked, the demonic oppression that was, I mean, I was literally possessed, whether you believe it or not. And I don't, I have no reservations in saying it, I mean, that happened to me. So this was the year after that when that happened. And one of the things that happened while we were there is I had a St. Michael's medallion with me that night, and somehow it got taken off of the chain. So that was really scary. But these are also signs that, spirits will try to intimidate, but that doesn't mean that they win with what they do. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, the St. Michael's medallion was not blessed as well too. But that was a sign for me of definitely, trying to be as good as I can with my spiritual awareness. And if my references and everything else usually come straight out of the Bible. You can look at Psalm 91 as an example of that. And I've never had anything go wrong with me when I turn to the proper source for that. So that's where all of my type of intervention or wisdom comes from, is from the Bible. So that's what I try to do for referencing and such. I mean, I've talked to different people in the past about such things. I even talked to an exorcist before for the state of Hawaii and such. And they all recommend the same thing. They all recommend the same thing. It's just staying true to what God wants us to do. And so that's how I get through any of these things, as best as I can. And along the way, I see people that are in need of help, and some do okay, and some are. It's a process. I think for some of us, even myself, it's a lifelong process. When you're affected by ghosts or demons, it's something that you have to work through day by day. It's not like in some of these books or movies where it's like, well, one big event happens and then everything goes back to normal. Everyone's got these great stories. Please let me know some of this stuff that you're talking about. I would love to hear more. Yeah, and Pearl Harbor has a lot of spirits. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back. Oh, stories on Corey for Corey. Corey, yeah, it's going to be next Sunday. It's going to be next Sunday. And yeah, Guy, that's correct as well. What you're saying is correct about Pearl Harbor was a site to worship Mono, the shark. And Smarty Pants, you're very correct. To be honest, if people were really suicidal, they wouldn't announce it. They would just tell maybe only one person privately, or tell no one. That's true. And this is like deja vu because this is like the second or third time that I heard it in regards to doing a show or a presentation, and people say these things. Oh wow, Lewis, good for you. I love the Baptist faith. They're very joyful, and they're celebrating their faith. What happened to Cash and Dogs? I see what Aloha wrote. Maybe I got to scroll further back. No, what did I miss with Cash and Dogs? Let me check here, guys. One moment. Yep, there is a hangar at Pearl Harbor that's haunted as well. I was near the shooting that happened a little while ago on Pearl Harbor. I saw, oh, that one, yeah, that made the news. I saw the guys laying on the ground. Prayers to the families. Yes, Catching Dogs. Amen to that. There was a horrible, horrible thing that happened. K Bay is haunted. Like my sister says, just about everywhere. Where is it not haunted? But thank you for sharing that, Smarty Pants. One driver is now possessed because he made a deal with the demon when I warned him not to. You got to pay the price. That's Smarty Pants. K-Bay was the site of one of the largest EV removals, desecration on ancient burials. So they're probably very upset. Yes, I agree with that. Although I remember the show we did on EV. That was a good show. We talked about the desecration of Hawaiian burials. Yes, 13 souls. Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. Yes, 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 yes. The face in the water of the video of Pearl Harbor. That is really scary. That's very scary. Yep, Amakua. That's right. That's a very famous story you're talking about, guys. I remember I read that. I think it was in the Obaki Files. I love that book. Again, if you haven't read it, folks, go get yourself a copy of the Obaki Files. Seriously, go get yourself a copy of that book. Please, by all means, go ahead and get one. You'll love it. That's enough reading for a couple of days, although I heard some people have read it overnight or within a few hours. How haunted is Tantalus? Well, there's a place at Tantalus called Spooky Lot that I've gone to with a couple of my friends, including my HPD friend. We went up there, and it is extremely haunted. The reason why I heard Tantalus is haunted, the main reason why I heard it's because of the negative things that took place there. Of course, the worst of it was different murders that happened at Tantalus as well. Matter of fact, there was one night that we were up there. I think it was the first time I went to Tantalus, and in the darkness, we heard a woman crying out, and that could have been the spirit of Diane Suzuki, and or maybe someone else, maybe even Lisa Ao. Diane Suzuki is a cold case. Lisa Ao, I believe they found her up at Tantalus. There's also a story that there is a park up there which is closed at night for a very good reason. That a girl jumped to her death up there, and if you've been to Tantalus, you know how much of a drop it is. Jumped to her death after finding out she was pregnant and that she was rejected by her boyfriend. For me, Chuck Lee, if you're asking me, let me see what, excuse me one second, what Smarty Pants is saying. Yes, Mokopu Peninsula, it was hundreds, thousands of EV removed to build K Bay. The bones are stored at Bishop Museum in boxes now, I believe. Aloha, there are things I could tell you about Bishop Museum. I wish I could. That are terrifying. Oh, they're really scary. Really, really super scary involving Bishop Museum. Not so much with Bishop Museum, but with situations connected to it. Where's the most haunted place area in Hawaii and Oahu? So far, I've been to the Big Island. That place is, oh my God. It's hard to get away from that energy once you experience it. It's hard to it's hard to pull away from it. So that's a really scary place. Mackenzie's and some of these other places I went to, the end of the world, scary stuff. On Oahu, which I think is the scariest, it's gotta be for me at least, because it's around the clock. It doesn't stop. It's Old Poly, either Old Poly Road, Old Poly Lookout, or definitely Old Poly Drive. I mean, and I don't tell people to do it, but if you end up being there at the wrong place at wrong time again, or if you park your car or whatever the case may be, I really recommend people not doing that for the obvious reasons that there are spirits up there that are very upset and they will actually let themselves be known. And just to let you know as well, if you get them really angry, they will possess you. It's happened up there. And yeah, Smarty Pants, yeah, that's the story that I heard. That's what I heard. It's a really sad story. Corey saying, one time I went fishing on an old Hawaiian road, and when walking into the cliffs, a lady called my name in the dark, and we were on private property with no one around. And yes, Aloha is absolutely correct. That is a calling spirit. Beware of anyone calling your name, especially at night or just overall, just to be safe. Obaki, I shared one of your videos with my boyfriend, and he said that Jatro sounds like a spooky place. It is scary. There's some other places that are kind of like near the top of that. I've never told you folks about the haunting at Pounders Beach, or how aggressive that spirit is that haunts that area. I never spoke about that, and that part of the island has their own white lady, and that white lady has her own story as well. There's some things I just haven't talked about yet, but there's other places that are pretty much near the top. But for a lot of people, if you lived on the island of Oahu, everyone's going to tell you places like Morgan's Corner and stuff, and it's all I can vouch for that. I can absolutely vouch. It is indeed very haunted, and these spirits do not mess around. I think the only thing that helps me is that I do try to keep my faith as strong as possible in these situations. And one time somebody was telling me, "Oh, you're not supposed to be going up there, and you shouldn't be doing all these spirit boxes and all that." And you know what? You're damn right. I shouldn't be doing that. But the other thing that I tell people is you don't see it on video, and I ain't, trying to get anyone to pat me on the back. But when we go to these places, we also do prayer. We ask for these places to be at peace so that these spirits are not as aggressive or angry. And to me, I feel it's the most important thing. I've actually told people in my community, what happens if we stop a haunting in one particular area? What if, for some reason a blessing is done and Morgan's Corner is no longer haunted? Are you okay with that? You got one less place to investigate. Uh, Never answer if you hear someone call your name and there's no one there. Correct. Yeah, I never responded, but ran down the trail and hit my uncle in the head with my poles to talk about comedy while being scared. That is funny. Um, I actually heard that there is a spirit of a lady on Pounders Beach that is walking around crying and calling out for her baby. She searches for her baby. You know what? There's a misconception about that. It's not exactly in the location that you're talking about. I had to go there several times. I think it was by the second time we had it figured out. The first time I went over there, there was an aggressive spirit, and I think the stories kind of meld together and become one story. But from what I understand, it's not exactly her haunting that's causing it. Although we did experience the what looked like an aggressive woman in the area. The story about the woman that walks around um, looking for her baby that drowned. And no, it's kind of was that? Yeah, kind of like La Lorna in a way. Yeah, kind of. But her haunting does not take place at the what people are putting at online. It takes place in another area that is kind of like part of it. And so one night when I was doing an interview with someone at Iolani Palace, one of the security guards, they told me a story about that particular one. And actually, if you know where to look, you'll find the remains of the house that is tied into that story. And I had the spooky chicken skin kind moment where one night I went there and I just sat there on the steps at night in the dark, where this woman is roaming around at about 2 o'clock in the morning, according to people that have heard her looking for her child. That was phew, that was something else. But yeah, there is a story that's, but yeah, Pounders itself is haunted, and it's haunted by a very aggressive spirit. And I don't want to go near that place anytime soon. I went there years ago, and I don't want to go back anytime. I mean, eventually I thought about it. I might want to, but not anytime like soon, especially with what's going on with the pandemic. Let's see what Cash and Dog says. Can someone explain to me this? I heard that kids were forming a circle and using old cell phones at Pearl Ridge near Arby's. What is that all about? Is Pearl Ridge even haunted? Thanks. There's a story about someone experiencing like a spirit attack close to Pearl Ridge. A lot of this stuff, I think, actually goes back to what Aloha was talking about and what we've talked about in another show. A lot of the times when places are haunted, it's because the removal of EV, but not always. You know, again, this is all just one big question mark, but some of them can be tied into certain things. As far as the cell phones, you know, there's a lot of stuff that is showing up on YouTube and other places. People are discovering rituals or creating their own rituals, which again are extremely dangerous. I cannot stress it enough. It's like that old saying goes: "If I knew back then what I know now." Uh, the place that I'm talking about, where that those two spirits, those where the murder took place, happened. There are people that use the Ouija board over there. That's a bit old school, yeah. But anytime you're dealing with spirit summoning, you know that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. You're thinking that you have control over something that no one else has begun to have, you know, a firm grasp on. We have an idea, but not a firm grasp. So all of a sudden, comes someone shows up with a Ouija board with some kind of ritual, and they're saying that they can control it, that they're the ones that have the answer. All of a sudden, no. As a matter of fact, what you're probably doing is, if you do something wrong, like in that case with the people that were at the murder site using an Ouija board, if you don't know what you're doing, you're creating a bigger problem. Charlie is one of them. Yeah, Charlie is definitely one of them. Aloha says, Obaki, when I was small, I heard about beaches that are haunted because that's where people would go to drown. Yes, yes. Disabled babies, they say you can hear the babies crying. Have you experienced that? When I went to the place where we're talking about at Pounders, I never got a chance to hear that. There's another place called Baby's Cry as well, if you know about that one. That is said to be that of the seabirds that nest on the rocks there. Also at Pokai Bay where the Heiau is. That one I heard. That sounded like babies, but I'm not saying all of that is the case. Of course, in Hawaiian history, there are stories that are very similar to what you're talking about that are tied in with beaches and drownings and such. So I am not surprised at all. Um, so yeah, but the ones I heard were those birds that. But again, I don't ever say that that is not true. I heard a terrifying story at Yokohama. Maybe I'll share that at Halloween, but it's so disturbing. I don't want to think about it after I say it, but it's terrifying. That involves a baby. Let's see here. I've had friends rent some houses from Corey. I've had friends rent some houses that had some mean kind vibes. I've seen the doors close or hear something moving in the back while we're drinking and smoking. I think they wanted to join us. Who knows, my friend? Maybe they just remember the good old days when they were here with us. A little off topic, but my wife is currently sleepwalking as we speak, but she's washing the dishes right now, so I'm not going to wake her up. Well, you know what? That's a two in one. One that's interesting. Two, you're getting a little bit of the housework done. Just joking. What about Yokohama Bay? Why is this so synchronicity oriented tonight with this show? The story that I'm talking about, the terrifying story that involved a baby, took place at Yokohama Bay. And yes, Yokohama Bay is said to be haunted. Very much so. If I'm not mistaken, there's a story about Yokohama Bay, again involving fishermen as well. And while they were out to sea, they encountered a Hawaiian spirit. And you got to remember too, not far from Makua. I mean, I'm from Yokohama's Makua Cave, right? I've been there. I've been to it. That place is haunted. It's funny, but when you're in that area, and you're driving out to that side of the island, if all of a sudden there's no more cars or there's no more anything out there. And as far as I remember, when I went to out in that side of the island with Makua and everything, no lights too. But that's not the problem. People always say, "Oh, the lights in your imagination. Your brain is feeding off of your environment." No, when you get out of the car, bang, the hairs stand up on your body everywhere. It's not just your arms. Wherever you got hair, boom, it's standing up. Your heart starts to race, and presence is everywhere. It's an overwhelming thing. It's just like you feel like someone's behind you. You turn around and you see that person. It's like that, but again, it's just amplified. And that's the closest thing I can tell you to, is when you know that you've arrived in a place that has paranormal activity. Lopaka has some good stories about that area. He has the real Hawaii name for Yokohama. Yes, yes. Lopaka Kapanui is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Everyone else, honestly, truly pales in comparison to Lopaka, because he is just that good with his mana'o, with his heart and his storytelling. He is ahead of everyone, and rightfully so. My husband saw what he called a comet at Yokes. He said it was huge, lit up the whole area, and kept changing directions. Could be Akualele. Could very well be that. You experience the same thing off at the cliffs of Makapu at night. I've been there before with a lot of strange activity. Makapu is just an area for spooky stuff. We were fishing at Yokohama once and was getting late, maybe after 10:30. We saw a big cloud of smoke, like an explosion. Whoa, at Yokohama? Wow. I rode past Yokohama Bay during the day on the bus, and I felt spooked out. I don't blame you at all. There's some places it never ends. The loop is there. It continues. Kewalo Bay. There's so many. That's the thing about us local people. We can just, a program like this can go on for hours and hours, because There's so many places with so many experiences. And I think that's it was an akualele. That yeah, I agree with that. What did Cash and Dog say? Go back. Yeah, she sleepwalks a lot, but only in the house. And my son, who is 1 year and 10 months, also sleepwalks. Also, that's scary because he's not used to it. Like my wife, he sometimes walks into walls. Oh, yeah, I gotta watch baby. Make sure baby's okay. Uh, Hakualeli means flying God, I believe. It's the messenger of the spirits. And oh, I had I rarely share this story. I did on Lopaka's tour, and occasionally when I go to ghost tours, or if I do a ghost tour, I share a story about an Akualele. But that's, like I said, I don't share everything. Rightfully so. Maybe one day I'll let you folks know about that story too. Corey says, I've seen Akualele dip into Wahiwa Valley while I was watching it in Honolulu Bay in the middle of the night. Super scary. I believe you. Trust me, what happened, oh my God, what happened was super scary. You know, the Japanese and other cultures have ghost lights and fireballs too, but our version is terrifying. You should, Smarty Pants. Anyone that's watching this program right now in the future, please, by all means, especially when this pandemic ends, support Lopaka Kapanui and Mysteries of Honolulu. I've been on several of his tours. They're the best thing I've ever been on. Nothing comes close. The man is phenomenal. He learned from the best too, and had his own experiences and wisdom involved with this, and just brought it all together. So I highly recommend when Lopaka is putting out tours, go check out Mysteries of Honolulu. As a matter of fact, go to Mysteries of Honolulu on Facebook. He's doing ghost stories right now. Support him if you can, please. Make a donation because he can't really go out and do tours. The best of the best, folks. No joke. Yeah, I want to go on one too. I went years ago to a Glenn Grant one that Lopaka was the during the tour. He was the one that was the host of the tour guide, and it was fantastic. I think that tour was about 5 or 6 hours. 5 hours, I believe. 5 hours, but phenomenal tour. Go check it out, folks. Cash and Dog says, "Oh my God, my wife is now asleep, vacuum, sleep vacuuming the house. So I definitely not going to wake her up." It's funny how the vacuum's not waking her up, but yeah, one time my wife, grandma says she was sleeping and climbed on the roof of her house. Well, as long as she didn't try to lay an egg or jump and try to fly, that's all. That's all that matters. If I go to one, I'm bringing my boyfriend. Yeah, bring him. Bring your boyfriend. Bring a whole army of people. Besides, it's good. It's for a fantastic cause. There's nothing like a Mysteries of Honolulu Lopaka Kapa Nui tour. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I've done tours in my past, but there's nothing like what Lopaka does. Mines get to be a little bit too intense at times, but Lopaka just does it spot on, perfect, really good job. I think I might sleep eat. I might sleep eat. I'm not sure. Uh, yeah, she woke up screaming that how her grandma and grandpa found her on the roof. Lay eggs. He tells her, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it was my little throwing in my 2 cents. Yeah, I would agree. Guide your wife outside to wash the car. It's a good idea. I'm so glad we got to do this because I haven't. Number one, I haven't done a talk in the dark like I used to. Like I said, the people that have been around from the beginning, they know what talk in the dark is. We just get together, and that's how all of this live streaming started. Was a talk in the dark, and I haven't done one in a long time. So these I like. I love having my guests, but I also like sitting in the dark. I don't know if you all sitting in the dark. I don't think Cash and Dogs is because his wife is it Cash and Dog? Yeah, Cash and Dog's wife is running around doing stuff. But yeah, this is a very nice thing to do to just have a conversation with you folks and talk story and everything. Anyway, what's coming up? I think for sure I know that next Sunday is going to be crazy. Well, the beginning of insanity. And then after that, there's going to be some. Let me ask you folks a question. I want to do a show on orbs. How many of you are interested in hearing anything about orbs at all? If anyone's interested in that, just say yes or no. But I wanted to do one on orbs. I'm still kind of scared to get mine done about the. Aloha wants me to do one on orbs. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. I'm interested. Yes. I heard too much about orbs. I guess I should do a show on orbs. The only reason why I want to do one too is I've done some YouTube videos in the past, and I mentioned that that I see orbs in some of my videos, but then again, I also say I see the ones that are not real orbs, the false orbs, as well. So when I talk about orbs, and if I do a show, I'll explain to you what I believe a real orb is, because I've actually filmed them versus the false orbs that people see, atmospheric patterns and stuff with dust and pollen and everything else. So we can do that as well. Yeah, it's one bug, squish it. Some of them are, for real. Some of them really are that. And I remember the early days when I did spirit photography, ghost photography. You take a photo and you're really excited because you see this white thing and you blow it up and it's a mosquito. Just buzz kill, pun intended, with that. So I'm thinking about doing a show on orbs. Definitely, I'm gonna do that. Still scared about the Ouija. Is just scary because it's such a dark history. It really truly is, and and when you do that type of stuff, you always talk about not trying to invite certain type of elements into the conversation or just into your home. So Ouija board is definitely coming up. Pele is coming up, guys. Lena, thank you for being here. And speaking of Pele, Lena's all the way out there on the Big Island. So Lena, I hope you have a good night, my friend, my sweet, wonderful friend from the Big Island. God bless you. And she's always been an avid supporter, and I appreciate that. People do that to dolls for hide and seek. About what? We're talking about dolls. Oh yeah, well, I still got to get that guest on from my show. She's been busy with her other projects. I don't like the Ouija board. Neither do I. Trust me, I do. But it's just part of this. And so I want to bring that into the conversation as well. And then you know what? If you feel like there's something that should be on the month of Halloween, one man hide and seek, which there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff. There really is, and that's one of them. If there's anything that you would like to have on my Halloween programs coming up next month, please leave me a comment or drop me a line as well. I'll give you my contact information. First and foremost, thank you again for being part of this show. Yeah, those are stories about them coming back no matter what you do to them. I have one really interesting Ouija board story that I'm going to be sharing with you folks. I have one on Akualele that you're going to love because it has to do with a very famous haunted location. I got a couple of stuff that are coming up. But yeah, I'm trying to get ideas together. So let me know, yeah, if you want something, contact me and I will definitely make it a subject. I'm thinking of doing top 5 haunted places. I'm thinking about doing that as well. Yes, Aloha, please. And if I can tell the story even better, I would share it on the program. I'll add it to this other story that I heard about the Ouija board, which was crazy. Now, not a lot of people in Hawaii talk about it, but yeah, there are stories of people messing around with it, and not a good thing. There's a whole bunch of videos you can look up. There's one, ghost spirits and demons or something like that. There was one that it scared me to this very day. where someone did a recording in a room that they had done a Ouija board experiment in, and it went crazy. So, and then there's those ones where people get possessed. But yeah, drop me a line. Let me know what you want for the month of October, and then I'll either talk about it. We'll have our talk in the dark, like what we're doing right now, or I'll have a guest come on, and we'll talk about that too. Yeah, top five. Oh, Aristocat, I didn't know you were here. How are you, sweetie? Good to see you. Yes, top five would be good. Black eyed children. Yep, that's another one too. And the next time someone says, well, there was this story of the ghost of a little boy or a little girl, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the story about the ghost of the little boy or little girl, because I'll tell you what, right now, there's a good chance that it's not a little boy or a little girl, okay? People say, oh, the poor little boy got. No, no, no. I have a friend that used to talk to ghosts, and when they showed up, when these type of spirits showed up, black-eyed children or just children in general, they sometimes ended up being black-eyed children. Dude, so please don't be fooled. Just hopefully, if anything, what you take away from these shows is that, a little bit of something that I can apply to something that happens out of the blue. Don't believe it. Don't fall for it. Just be cool and tell them to get lost, or, pray, make them go away. You have the resources in you to overcome these things. That's the other part of the equation. People just are like, oh, you're telling us all these scary things. But no, I also tell you, pray. Find your way through the situation. But trust me, the spiritual is what counters the spiritual. Period. So that's what I say as well. But yeah, if you've encountered those things, anyway, if you do encounter strange things, black-eyed children, UFOs, whatever the case may be, chupacabras wearing hula skirts, whatever the case may be, get a hold of me, yeah? So let me give you some contact information right now for social media. I'll do that for you folks. Exactly, Aloha, exactly. So you want to get a hold of me, again, real simple. Go to Facebook. You can find my two groups there. One of them is getting to be a little bit too big. I'm going to have to find a moderator or something to help me with that, because I got all these projects. But Ghosts of Hawaii, that's a great, great group. We share paranormal things, but also if something happens and you need prayer done, we're there for you. Today there was a cat that was very, very ill, and my prayer warriors got together and we prayed. And I'm just saying, thank God, Kitty is doing better. Kitty was laying on the floor, hardly breathing, not moving. Cat is up and walking around. Thank the Lord for that. But we also we do that type of thing at my group over there. Thank you, Aloha. Of course, animals and people, we all should pray for each other and for them. So go check out that if you like as well. Ghosts of Hawaii. It's a very chill group. I take pride in the fact that there's no drama on that group as well. And then the other group is 808 Most Haunted 2. You can find me there as well. If you want to be, yeah, thank you so much, Kona. Really. Thank you so much. Thank you, Smarty Pants. Thank you. Go check out that group. Either one, you have to answer 3 questions. But if you say, hey, you know what? I'm one of the people that watch your show, boom, automatically, and don't have to answer 3 questions. You can join the groups there and keep up to date with that. Instagram, it's ghosts_of_Hawaii. You can find me over there as well. I usually post things, for the most part, posts for the show and everything that's coming up. Where else can you reach me? You can reach me, although you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks or so before this pandemic kind of like gets better. TikTok, I only have a few videos because I can't get out there right now. TikTok, you can find me at Ghosts of Hawaii. And then finally, because I don't use Twitter, and I have various reasons why not to, because I think if you're not a celebrity with 10 million followers or whatever the case may be, if you don't have a brand name, people just kind of see you as under the radar at the most. But you can find me, of course, at my email, which is obakihunter51@gmail.com, all lowercase, OBAKEHUN as in Nickel, TER 51@gmail.com. Drop me a line over there. Drop me a line over here. Drop me a line in the comment section. So there's many different ways to get a hold of me. I know some of you have, and for those of you that have, I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here tonight. This was not an easy show to do. Um, I probably will be doing one, and they probably might, merge together a bit on spirit attacks because there's different ways a spirit can attack you. And I believe it, guy. I believe, and bless your puppy, you know, bless your puppy. I like to pray over my animals, put my hands on their heads, make the sign of the cross and pray for them so that they'll be okay. Thank you, Aristocat. I'm glad you like my stories. I guess I'm okay at telling them, hopefully. But thank you, yeah, for being here and such. A lot of stuff is coming up. Before you all go, I just got a piece of equipment that it took a long, long time, pennies, nickels, and dimes, whatever, to share. I mean, to save, and then having people kind enough to help me. But I'll be using that, and you'll see it being implemented in future shows. I would say that Kitty's plight might have a medical reason. Future vet tech here. But it definitely seems like his plight was spiritual. It was physical, and yeah, they took him in. Wonderful story behind it. That cat's visit should have been $1,500, but by the end of the day, they took him in. Check this out. The people that had the cat had $200 on them. The vet cost was only $196. Tell me if God is not good. Tell me if that is not the case and that miracles don't happen. Amen to that. Amen. I know because I struggle with our cats, and we can never. Yeah, thank you, Aloha. I get scared because I can't afford to take them for expensive treatments. I barely get by on my own. That's the truth. Lay it out there. Yeah, there's nothing impressive about me at all. I scrape to get by, and vet costs are insane. And you know what? I'm an advocate to looking at stopping this. I mean, they should have payment plans. It shouldn't be that you go into a vet office and it's life or death. I don't know if my friend is still watching, Aristocat, but she has been an angel to me. She's helped me out so many times. She is one of those people that come on and watch the show, but I don't say nothing about them. But she has been an angel, and she has helped in so many ways. She has helped me. When I've been in a really tough situation, and I'm trying to do a fundraiser on Facebook, she has done amazing things. So God bless you, Aristocat. Seriously, I never forget what you've done. Just letting you know. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's only good for under certain terms and conditions. Just insanity. And yeah, but I believe in that pets are teachers. You're welcome, Aristocat. You really are. You've done so much, and bottom of my heart, I can never thank you enough. Our pets are our teachers. They teach us. You always say, well, we're teaching our pets, tricks and everything. Pets are family. Yes, and pets teach us so much. We can learn so much from animals. It's not the other way around that they learn from us. We learn from them. So very passionate about that as well. Hopefully one day I'll be able to do a ghost tour for ASPCA or something like that, or a cat charity, or something like that in the future. I know my sister and my roommate has asked me about that, but I definitely want to do that. Do a ghost tour for them. When things get better and stuff. But as always, folks, wow. Whew. I thought it was only going to be an hour tops that we will be talking. Pets are wonderful. They're one of the most compassionate creatures you'll ever meet. Amen. Yeah, and Aristocat is amazing. Amazing. My God, I was sitting there crying in tears. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And Aristocat comes along and she messages me. She goes, don't worry. Boom. Amazing stuff. And by the way, she has those are the most amazing pictures of food. I think both me and Aristocat have a passion for beef stew. I think we both have a passion for beef stew. But yeah, great person. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight, Koloa, born and raised. And everyone else, if you're new to the channel, aloha and welcome. There's always a seat for you to sit down. and relax and to talk story with us, just like we did in the old days. You don't need to worry about wearing a mask or anything. No social distancing. Just have fun and listen to some great guests. And I get to listen to you folks as well. Thank you, 13 Souls. Great stories tonight. Thanks, everyone, and mahalo for sharing with us, Obaki. Always grateful. I'm grateful for you folks, too. My dogs has helped me get through horrific times. I believe it. Good night, mahalo. Thank you. What a beautiful soul. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Thank you always for being here. And hopefully, these talk in the these talks in the dark are pretty good with you folks. You like those as well, because I like hearing from you. Like I said, you guys are part of the show. Thank you so much, Guy, and everybody. I'll talk to you folks again soon. Don't forget, next Sunday, if anything, I might. Thank you, Kimchi. I might have some shows before that. I'll let you know. You know how to check on it. You can, if you're a subscriber, please. And by the way, please tell your friends. Right now, I'm at 1,920, trying to get to 2,000 and see where it goes. Let some people know. And when you subscribe, please hit all where it says all on the notification bell. Appreciate that so much. Can't believe I'm near 2,000. That's incredible. But I will talk to you folks again soon. God bless you all. Ghosts of Hawaii, you're home for a dose of ghosts and miracles. Thank you, God, for helping that poor cat. I will talk to you all again soon. Anything comes up, I'll post it on the community board. You can find me on Instagram and also on Facebook, posting stories as upcoming shows. Obaki, you by far my favorite ghost storyteller. God bless you, my friend. Good night and God bless you. Thank you so much. Wow. Seriously, that really makes me feel good. I appreciate it. I try my best when I tell ghost stories. I really, really try my best. And for someone to tell me that, I truly appreciate it. So again, God bless you all. Until we come again together and talk, stay safe. Much love and aloha. Talk to you soon.